in their second meeting of the season. Ticats won in dominant style in week 2.
Well, one of the keys to the Edmonton offense, they've got that great passing game, but the guy who supplies the balance is their running back, C.J. Gable, the former Hamilton Tiger Cat, makes his return here tonight with big numbers on his mind. Looking to keep him in check, his former teammate, the middle linebacker of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Big part of their identity, number 11, Larry Dean.
For June Jones, Friday's the anniversary of him taking over as head coach of the Ticats. So he's coached in exactly 18 games and even 9-9 overall, but disappointed with the 3-5 record so far in 2018. His counterpart, Jason Moss, in his third season as Eskimos head coach, hitting the halfway point at 6-3, just 2 points behind rival Calgary for first in the West. Looking to catch him tonight, although the Stamps should still have 2 games in hand. And it was Edmonton winning the toss, and they have deferred, and so the Ticats will elect to take the football from the south end zone as Hugh O'Neill gets this one underway. Hamilton Tiger Cat football taking it out, Sean Thomas Erlington, and he gets it up to the 35, where Jeremiah Mazzoli, who had a great outing against the Eskimos back in week 2, will go to work.
Yeah, Jeremiah Mazzoli has enjoyed some of his greatest successes against these Edmonton Eskimos. 2 wins in his 2 starts against the team with which he broke into the Canadian Football League.
You're right, small sample size, but the victory earlier this year, and then in 2016 at Commonwealth when he had 23 straight completions, and a big comeback victory for the Ticats. And handing off to Alex Green, who's taken down by Alex Bazzi, and Christophe Malumba Chimanga there up near the 40.
Well, we'll take a look at this Tiger Cats starting offense, a receiving core that is without Jalen Saunders, one of its go-to guys. Terrence Tolliver. You see a little more action on the inside in place of Saunders along that offensive line. A couple rookies in Jordan and Sirocco starting. They'll be leaning on the veteran at center, Mike Filer, for a little direction.
In his 7th year out of Mount Allison is Filer. A gain of 5, so 2nd and 5. Mazzoli. Quick pass picked off J.C. Sherritt. So a turnover right away, and Riley and the Eskimos will be in business after the contribution of another Eskimo veteran, Sherritt, with the interception, and that's his 2nd of the season.
Well, the Eskimos create a little confusion. You're going to see Sherritt right in the middle of your picture, but watch off the right side as the free safety. Josh Woodman is going to blitz. So Mazzoli knows he's responsible for that guy. Got to get the ball out quickly. Doesn't see Sherritt sneak underneath, sitting in underneath Luke Tasker, which is his hot route. And Sherritt comes up with the pick.
So just like that, 2nd play from scrimmage. And the Eskimo defense that had a hard time against Mazzoli. And the Tiger Cats offense back in week 2 in late June. Riley, good field position to work with, throwing right away. And that's Vidal Hazelton, who hasn't played since week 1 in Winnipeg, coming off the injured list, and they're going to number 15 right away.
Yeah, kind of a case of the rich get richer of Mike Riley, that terrific receiving core. Of course, Bryant Mitchell had the breakout game a week ago. You look at Riley's tremendous numbers, over 3,000 yards just halfway through the season.
We have a flag down, and the percentages would say it's against Edmonton. I only point that out. It is the most penalized team in the Canadian Football League. 1,000 yards.
Necessary roughness. Edmonton number 58. 15-yard penalty. Be 2nd down.
The left guard Travis Bond called for unnecessary roughness. This has been a problem for a very good team. They just take too many penalties.
Well, gifted very good field position, obviously, to start their first possession. As a coach, you just hate to see your guys shooting themselves in the foot.
The 94th penalty of the season in this, their 10th game. Led with 93 for 1,000 yards until that one there by Travis Bond, pushing them further back to the 44 of Hamilton. And a 2nd and 18. Faking to Gable, and then hitting Darrell Walker, but only a couple of yards for the Eskimos. And they are going against a breeze.
Terrific effort defensively to knife underneath the blocker and make that low tackle on Walker.
So no chance of a field goal try against the wind. Hugh O'Neill, the punter, is out. And Chris Williams stands back at about the 7-yard line for the Ticats. What would have been a 48-yard try for Sean White. Nothing doing. And Williams takes it about the 6. And he heads back. He's got nothing going on. Cuts it back up the middle. Now he does. Almost runs into Ted Laurent, and he gets up across the 25. All things considered, a good return for Chris Williams when it looked like he was hemmed back inside the 5. So they come out unscathed after that interception by J.C. Sherritt, Brandon Banks, Jeremiah Masoli, and the Ticats offense in a scoreless game. Thursday Night Football, presented by The Brick. Thursday Night Football on TSN is presented by The Brick, saving you more. Back here in Hamilton, Tim Hortons Field. Early on, second possession for Masoli and the Ticats. And it was an unnecessary roughness penalty against Edmonton that pushed them back and out of field goal range. So after the interception by J.C. Sherritt, doesn't cost Hamilton anything here as they hand off Alex Green. He gets it up across the 30. A Hamilton team that runs the football more now than they used to back in the days when C.J. Gable was there.
A quick peek at this Edmonton Eskimos defense. Mike Moore makes his return after being injured early in the season. He's in at that defensive tackle spot for Jake Ceresna. We'll see Ceresna in the rotation. Christophe Mulumba-Shimonga makes the start at the weak side linebacker spot. In that secondary mercy mask, and keep an eye on him in that boundary corner.
Call it 2nd and 6. Masoli had a great running game against Winnipeg 2 weeks ago. He is Hamilton's leading rusher, and he takes off there to get a first down for the Ticats.
And nicely blocked up here on the called run. You see Hamilton in that 6-0 lineman tight end formation. Alex Green, the running back, is the lead blocker on that one. He takes care of the linebacker Sherritt, allowing Masoli to pick up that first down yardage.
287 yards rushing coming in. He had 80 2 weeks ago in Winnipeg, and a gain of 8 there for the first down. And throwing this time on first down, and a completion to Mike Jones. Up near another first down pass. That, yes, indeed, up near midfield for the Tiger Cats.
Well, Mike Jones, the third-year Canadian out of Southern University. A 100-yard game to his credit earlier this season.
One thing Jason Moss said, they can't allow Hamilton to sustain early drives. They did that very well in their first 2 for touchdowns back in week 2. But on that first down, Alex Bazzi, Amondo Seaweller there, and they got him all wrapped up for a loss by Alex Green.
Jeremiah Masoli has certainly enjoyed facing his old team, the Edmonton Eskimos. It was no different June 22nd of this year as he lit it up against the Eskimos. Second time he has beaten them in as many starts in his Canadian Football League career.
Loss of about a foot as they set up the screen to Green. And a good gain in Edmonton territory down to the 40 and another first down. And they are indeed sustaining a drive against this Eskimos defense this time around. A gain of 15 yards.
Rod, we talked in the pregame about how the running back doesn't necessarily get a lot of touches in this Hamilton Tiger Cat offensive system. But Alex Green has been a busy man thus far. Few carries. Ticats have generally run the ball with him on first down, now getting him involved a little bit in that passing game as they try to manage an Eskimo pass rush that leads to CFL in sacks.
On the 1st and 10, Masoli throwing again. Off to the right as Brandon Banks, who really emerged about a year ago as a dangerous receiver after the change at head coach with June Jones and with Masoli coming in at quarterback.
If you were to label the 3 most significant changes made at that time, it was June Jones as head coach and Jeremiah Masoli as the starting quarterback. Those are the obvious ones. Brandon Banks, of course, moving into the starting lineup after previously being used primarily as a return specialist. He's been the most productive receiver in the Canadian Football League in the 18 games since then.
3 Ticats in the top 4 with Darrell Walker in there since last September. A gain of 17 and another gain here. It's Chris Williams and another first down.
And this is a positive sign for the Tiger Cats offensively in the early going, particularly in the absence of Jalen Saunders. Chris Williams hasn't really got on track yet since coming over from Montreal in the Johnny Manziel trade. But he's got a couple of catches, a couple of touches early on here. Did a nice job on the punt return to help the Ticats out in terms of field position to start off this drive. If they could get him going, that'd be huge.
This is the 8th play of an impressive drive after the first one ended in an interception for Masoli. And the Ticats inside the 15. Back to Green on the ground and grinds away for a couple of yards at most. Jake Serezna in there. And J.C. Sherritt, who had the pick earlier.
And I don't necessarily see the Ticats as a big play action team, in large part because they're not necessarily seen as a big run team. But the fact is they've run Green a lot on first down already in this football game, setting a little bit of a trend, something that Eskimos are going to pick up on. If they can run play action or bootleg off of that, they may be able to take advantage of the S keying on them.
Early in this game, Ticats threatening. Green threatening. Green is in and a touchdown, Tiger Cats. Green with his 5th touchdown of the season.
And Green does a nice job when things get locked up inside. He's going to bounce it out. Nice hook there by the pulling right tackle, Riker Matthews. Recognizes that his man is crashing down inside. Instead of trying to kick him out, he just used his momentum to pin him inside. That allows Green to get around the horn for the major.
9 plays, 83 yards in just under 5 minutes. Good sustained drive, and the point after by Liram Hairelahu, who takes that from the right hash, pops it through, makes it a 7-0 game. It looked disastrous at the beginning for Masoli and the Cats, and then they drove the field, capped off by that. Thursday Night Football, presented by the Brick in Hamilton. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the Canadian Football League. Early on in Hamilton on a beautiful Thursday night, that man, Alex Green, with a 10-yard carry for the first points of this game, a touchdown for the Tiger Cats, and a 7-0 lead over the visiting Edmonton Eskimos. And on the kickoff, Sam Jaguar and Jamil Smith are back for it, and Smith has it at his 7th. For Edmonton, across the 20. Good return going up near the 35 and out of bounds, Jamil Smith. 28-yard return as Edmonton will go back on offense after this. Alex Green into the end zone for the Cats and a 7-0 lead.
Intelligent.
Want to take a look back at that Hamilton touchdown. Keep an eye on the defensive end, Darius Allen. He's got 2 choices. He can either get upfield and keep contain or crash inside. The man pulling for him, backside tackle Riker Matthews. If Allen goes inside, Matthews is going to log him and pin him. If he goes outside, he's going to kick him out. Now here, you'll see Allen get up. He goes inside. Great read on the fly by Riker Matthews. Pins him in. That allows Alex Green to bump it outside and take it to the house.
Meanwhile, C.J. Gable gets his first touch in this game against his old team back here at Tim Hortons Field, traded away to Edmonton last October.
As C.J. Gable, his last game as a Hamilton Tiger Cat, he set a career high. Got him moved. He has since broken that, or set a new career high with Edmonton this season on that offensive line. Keep an eye on right guard David Beard, former University of Alberta Golden Bear, making the start.
Riley on second down after the gain of 5 by Gable. That's for the fullback Calvin McCarty, but it is dropped. So just like that, it'll be 3rd down and Hugh O'Neill back out to punt.
Well, Hamilton Tiger Cats defense coming up big in this football
Procedure,
game.
no end, Edmonton. That penalty be declined. 3rd down.
Through these first couple of Edmonton possessions. Big stop on that first one as the S took over. In Hamilton territory, they managed to get away without allowing any points. And here, quick 2 and out.
O'Neill punting that one away. Chris Williams on to return. And gets it up. Pretty good field position for Masoli and the Ticats to work with up near their 40. After the 9-play drive for the touchdown.
Much talk early in the season about Jeremiah Masoli's string of 300-yard passing games. And that pace has got him on track to set a Ticat single-season passing record, breaking the previous record set by some old dude.
Who actually broke the record of another old dude. We could say that about Henry and Danny McManus. Danny had it back in 1999 and is here tonight. Darius Allen, early movement. You talk penalties again. 1 declined, 1 taken so far. The 3rd one of this game.
Offside. Edmonton number 99. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 1st down.
And that'll earn Darius Allen a seat on the sidelines. Alex Bazzi checks back in at defensive end.
With instructions from the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, our old colleague Mike Benavides.
You could read Mike's lips telling him just relax. Relax. Eskimos a little jumpy in the early going here.
So 1st and 5 after the Allen penalty, the 3rd penalty for the Eskimos, and they stick to Green. Last carry was that 10-yarder for the touchdown and whittles away. Not a 1st down, but close, and a 2nd and short for the Ticats.
Ticats continuing that trend, running the ball with Alex Green on 1st down. You keep waiting for the key breaker, where they're going to do something different, try to catch the Eskimos anchored in, sitting down, looking to play the run.
The Ticats with 7 rushing plays and 5 passing plays. This isn't the Hamilton team C.J. Gable left back in October, when they rarely ran the ball last year and the year before. The philosophy did change. Kwaku Boateng in quickly, but Masoli gets it away to Luke Tasker, who had 2 touchdowns, his 2 TDs of the season in Edmonton back in week 2 in that Hamilton victory, and another big 1st down for the black and gold.
Well, you'll see a nice combination with the routes here. You're going to see the inside route comes first. If you see Mike Jones right at that right edge of your screen, he's going to drive the defender away, taking Aaron Grimes to the inside. With that release, Grimes is now forced to turn his back. He doesn't see Tasker coming in behind. The quick hitter, they slide it in for a big completion.
Tasker had 5 catches for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns that last game. And on that, Masoli keeps it.
So Luke Tasker, another one of those Ticat receivers who will be relied on even a little bit more than usual. In the absence of Jalen Saunders, he comes up big here in the early going.
We rave understandably about the Eskimos receiving corps. Hamilton's not too shabby in that department either, with Banks and Tasker. Williams added to the mix, throwing again, and Mike Jones too, as he picks up another 1st down. This is similar. If you take that pick away, a gain of 12 for number 12, the way that game went back in June, where the early possessions, Hamilton was able, as said, to sustain some big drives.
Mike Jones, again, 120-yard receiving game in the season opener out in Calgary. Big expectations from him here in year 3, really getting an opportunity. Shamad Chambers injured in the preseason. Number 1 overall pick Mark Chapman didn't sign with the Ticats, so Jones gets to roll with that starting position.
And back in the red zone again for Hamilton on the 2nd straight possession. And this time a short gain, hardly any, for Alex Green. It'll be 2nd and long. Alex Green has carried the ball 7 times already.
And unexpected, certainly, in terms of the Tiger Cats' game plan to open this one.
Gain of about a foot. So second down, 9+. An end zone look. Oh, nearly Aaron Grimes in front of Chris Williams, and either got a piece of it or distracted him at least as it falls incomplete.
Well, we'll get a closer look to see just what the impact of Aaron Grimes' coverage was on this play. At a glance, appeared to be as much of a distraction as anything. The ball did get through there with Williams having a chance to make that grab for the touchdown.
So Hiralahu, 25 yards away, and puts 3 more on the board for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Looking for another touchdown, and they came that close, but no. Slight deflection there, just enough by Aaron Grimes to keep them to just 3. Festive night at Tim Hortons Field, and that includes a pig roast. Let's head down a little closer now and join Brody Lawson. Brody.
Hey guys, now you've seen the nachos in Vancouver, you've seen the 2-foot-long hot dog in Regina, you've seen the all-you-can-eat barbecue in Montreal. Tonight in Hamilton, it is all about the pig roast. We have got a smoker here, and there's 2 pigs that have been smoking for 16 hours. Those are the ribs. They smoke this pork for 16 hours, guys. They sell about 300 pulled pork sandwiches tonight. They also do a cauliflower. This place is lined up throughout the game, and I know I've been taunting you guys all season with the food. Tonight, I promise you, I am bringing you up a pulled pork sandwich.
I hope you're going to keep your word there, Brody. By the way, she had me at ribs. Cauliflower, not so much, but she definitely had me at ribs. And, you know, you go ahead down, I'll call the game, and then when you come back up, you call the game. So we'll make sure we get our
You got yourself a deal.
10-0 Hamilton. After the field goal, Riley and the Eskimos back to work from the 35, and a flag goes down again on that short gain by Darrell Walker.
The reaction suggests this one might be going against the Tiger Cats.
Which would be
major foul, face mask. Hamilton, number 24, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
And the first penalty against the Tiger Cats, it is Delvin Breaux, senior. Flag for that, so a big penalty to move the sticks all the way up near midfield for the Eskimos.
Well, we'll take a closer look. See Breaux, the lone cat, working against Mateo J. Not sure the face mask calls couldn't have gone both ways on that one.
And late in this first quarter, that is the first down by penalty for the Edmonton Eskimos. With the pressure coming from Hauser and Calvin McCarty on the receiving end there, as Nikita Whitlock says, you're not going any further than that. He does take him down. And a very short gain for the Edmonton Eskimos. Or actually, excuse me, a loss of about a yard.
We see Nikita Whitlock in on that Ticats D-line rotation, a group that includes Adrian Tracy at defensive end. He says he's been watching some clips of Joe Montfort. Donyanamba's been a nice find at the nickel linebacker position. Has been a journeyman in the league to this point. Mario Cooper, we've seen McCorner earlier this year. He's at halfback, field halfback, in place of Richard Leonard this week.
Another flag down, movement at the line as Riley gets it away. And was it a freebie? He was intended there for Kenny Stafford. It goes high and incomplete. And that second and even longer is about 12 yards to go.
Offside. Hamilton, number 15.
Wouldn't be 15. As Tom Valesi gets it straightened out as to who it was.
Check that. Offside. Edmonton, number 15. That penalty be declined. Third down.
That's a significant difference. Fidel Hazelton called for that, and so once again, Edmonton's to be punting.
Well, the unforced errors. The becoming an issue very early on in this football game for the Edmonton Eskimos.
So O'Neill stands inside his 40. Despite the big turnover to start the game for the Tiger Cats, the game is theirs so far. Their last 2 possessions resulting in a touchdown and a field goal. And here's Brandon Banks on this punt return. He gets tripped up. Nicely done by Calvin McCarty there. As the first quarter comes to an end, but despite the shaky start, a very good quarter indeed for Jeremiah Masoli and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and Joe Montford night, honoring a great and looking to honor him right as they take on the Edmonton Eskimos. Looking good so far. It's Thursday Night Football through 1 quarter, presented by the Brook. He was one of the great defensive players in the history of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the CFL for that matter, but that's what he did in black and gold. 115 sacks, 460 tackles, and 141 games with the Tiger Cats from 1996 to 01, and again in 03 and 04 after a 1-year stint with the dreaded Argos before finishing up with the Edmonton Eskimos. But there you go. Dwayne Ford played against him in a couple of Grey Cups, but you were a teammate of his as well. What did you love about the game of Joe Montford? Well,
I mean, the thing about Joe was that he was one of those guys as a defensive player, like really your only choice was to try and run the ball at him. I mean, if you were passing the football, Joe was probably going to be in your backfield. He was going to be a nightmare. If you ran away from him, he was probably going to run the play down from the backside. So you may as well try and run it at him, because that was sort of your best of no great options.
He'd be proud of this Tiger Cat defense tonight, holding Riley and the offense to 18 yards in that first quarter. On the draw, the second begins with a busy man in Alex Green. He has scored the 1 touchdown tonight, and he has some good yardage there across the Tiger Cat 20 to set up close to a first down, a second and short for Hamilton. No, it is enough, excuse me, for a first down.
You get a look at the timing on that draw. You see all those white jerseys of the Eskimo pass rushers running in the wrong direction, getting upfield, trying to get after Jeremiah Masoli. As he draws them in, he hands it off to Green for a nice pickup going the other way.
Much like the game 9 weeks ago, a good start for Hamilton. Handing off to Green again on that first down. Alex Green, who really became prominent in the backfield with the Tiger Cats after C.J. Gable was traded away last October.
Yeah, and I think the argument from the Ticats point of view would be this is the guy that they felt made C.J. Gable expendable, a guy they liked, thought was a good fit for the offense. I don't even want to know.
Is that the Natasha defense? On 2nd and 7. Terrence Tolliver. For another first down, Hamilton, and a gain of 11 for the Cats.
Still trying to recover from that play call, but Jeremiah Masoli, keeping with the trend of his starts against the Edmonton Eskimos, right on the mark early on, spreading the ball around, getting all his receivers involved. It's Terrence Tolliver, the one big target in that Smurf-like receiving corps.
Bobbled and dropped on that first down. That was Chris Williams, the intended receiver. Nick Taylor in the coverage.
And that's a nice break on the football by Nick Taylor to get in and break that one up. Taylor, former Ottawa Red Black.
Completed pass and another first down. The Brandon Banks, 4th leading receiver in the CFL this season.
Brandon Banks working out of the slot. Whole lot of speed on that side of the field with he and Chris Williams lining up side by side.
The Ticats coming off a bye. The Eskimos playing last Saturday, a victory at home over the Montreal Alouettes. Alex Green. What a game Alex Green is having. What a first half as he gets that up near the Edmonton 50-yard line.
Well, Green in his first couple of starts. Nice job there by the tackle Avery Jordan. Took over that left tackle spot, and Tony Washington was dealt to Montreal. Green already 10 carries, 47 yards on the ground,
including the 10-yarder for the touchdown. Part of that 10-0 lead. Back to Green again, but Jake Seresna meets him, and he gets some help as well from Kwaku Boateng, and down he goes on his 11th carry. Not much doing there, and that was a 2nd and short, so it sets up 3rd down now and a couple of yards shy. So a big stop.
Right around midfield.
Lost the yard on that play, 3rd down.
And we'll send out that punt team, but obviously in this part of the field, especially given the short yardage required, keep an eye for a possible fake. That'll lead the Eskimos to leave much of their defensive personnel on the field rather than a full change to the punt return team.
Haralahu just about his 45, and it squibs off to the side and just down around the 25. Picked up by Smith, and a no yards flag for 5 yards going down there. So the change in field position after a punt of only 25 yards works out in the Eskimos' favor, down by 10 in the second. They're honoring Joe Montford tonight here in Hamilton, and a lot of his old teammates are here to see it, including Danny McManus. Let's go down to Matthew Shinetti.
Absolutely, Rod, and I was just talking to Danny because as much as they played together with that 99 team most memorably, you spent some time against Joe Montford. So I'm going to ask you about that first, because I imagine you have nightmares of that still.
Well, the biggest thing when Joe was on the field, you always want to know where 53 was. In our offensive blocking scheme, we had to find out where's 53, whether the offensive line had to find him or the running back had to find him. So the biggest thing we want to know, where's Joe Montford? Make sure you block him so he doesn't get to me.
Now, right in the action. The thing about that 99 team, talking to Dennis McPhee right before the game, he said the thing about Joe is he loves football. He didn't have to pay him, that he was always going to be prepared all the time. As a teammate and a leader, what did you remember specifically about that championship team?
Well, I think with Joe, he came every day to practice
Illegal
to be the
contact.
best. It wasn't just game day. He was ready every day to practice. And when you saw it in the game, you expected that for Joe to succeed like he did. He had different moves every play, and our offensive tackles weren't used to that. So the biggest thing that we saw on offense is get us the ball back, Joe. And he did that continuously, and we were able to get a Grey Cup championship out of it.
What was the most memorable? His engine, his arms, or those shoulder pads?
Well, I think the whole body, because I used to see him walk to the weigh station, and I always wanted to have my body to look like Joe's. And if I had a body like that, I would never wear a T-shirt again.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, buddy.
You and me both, Danny Mac. You and me both. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, I mean, and to Danny's point, I mean, Joe Montford, Wayne, I mean, he looks tip-top. I know it's cliche, but he does look like he could suit up again.
Well, Joe looks ready to play, but I mean, he's been busy doing yard work.
That's right.
From what I hear, owning a landscaping company down in Atlanta.
He's got a very famous client. We're going to have him up here in the third quarter. We're going to ask about that. Famous client back in the studio, by the way. Hamilton's starting to move. Saw C.J. Gable before. You see C.J. Gable now. Once a prominent part of that Tiger Cats defense until he was dealt last October the 2nd to the Eskimos. And we saw in our pregame, he was saying what a new lease on his career it has meant for C.J. Gable, just because as much as he loved Hamilton, he wasn't getting the football, and he got it a whole lot more as soon as he went to Edmonton.
Yeah, C.J. Gable has been a perfect fit in this Edmonton Eskimos offense. You know, I mean, obviously a team that likes to put the ball in the air, a terrific blocker, but a productive guy on the ground to provide some balance for that potent passing attack led by Mike Riley.
Gain of 7 there. Throwing it out to Kenny Stafford. He needs 3 yards, and he did not get them. Great defensive work by the Ticats and number 25, Jamal Roll.
Yeah, they get Stafford isolated out there, the lone receiver out to that side. It's just he and Jamal Roll in space. If Roll doesn't make this tackle, that turns into a big gain. Terrific job fighting off the straight arm, getting in on the legs to make that play for the first-year Tiger Cat defensive back.
And so going with the wind. Spot the ball at about the 52, and a field goal try for Sean White to see if they can get the Eskimos on the board. He's 17 and 19. His longest this season is 52 yards. Sean White to match that. Looks good. Splits those uprights. Yes, indeed. It's far enough. And Edmonton does finally get some points. Down 10-3 here in the second quarter in Hamilton. Friday night football keeps on rolling tomorrow. The Argos taking on the Montreal Alouettes. You can catch it at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific across the TSN network. Saw the Owls and Antonio Pipkin at quarterback for the injured Johnny Manziel last week. And how about McLeod, Bethel Thompson? A couple of comeback victories for the Argos. First over Ottawa, then over BC last week. Watch that tomorrow night. So the Eskimos getting on the board. It's now a 7-point lead again for Masoli and the Tiger Cats. Swinging it over to Alex Green. Tackle there by Alex Bazzi coming across, but not before he gets up near the 40 and second down.
Well, Alex Green continues to be the busiest man on the field. Came into this football game with a couple of starts. 15 carries in one, 16 in the other. He may hit those numbers before the end of the first half.
Second and 7. To Banks. Loses the football. Josh Woodman, the safety, recovers it for the Eskimos. And one thing is definitely going Edmonton's way. Turnovers. The second one. And once again, in scoring position, Banks coughs it up. Woodman makes the recovery. Edmonton will see if they can cash in coming up. $6,000 yards passing in a single season is quite the milestone. Very rare. Well, Dwayne, Mike Riley so far is on course.
Yeah, and a little bit of a trendsetter. You look at the cluster of guys around him in the top 4 there with his projected numbers, 91, 92, 93. David Archer did it around that same time as well, 1993. The Sacramento Gold Miners.
Right. And Riley, halfway through the season, is projected to be there. Now, he was on pace for that last year as well and didn't quite make it, but no shame in being up in the high 5,000s. He's put together some very good seasons, the reigning MOP. By the way, Doug Flutie has a record for combined touchdowns of 54 in a single season, both throwing and running. And right now, halfway through the season, Riley's at 27.
And now, how many fantasy points would Doug Flutie have gotten you for those 54?
Goodness. He would have been off the charts. As it stands with Riley, if you follow CFL Fantasy and TSN, $14,000 on a $40,000 roster is a whole lot like this. Touchdown. Darrell Walker. Just talking about Riley's production, Walker's production, and they cash in right there and a big touchdown to put him in position to tie this game.
Yeah, Riley stands in. Darrell Walker going right down the pipe. Riley has a chance. You see the protection allows him to step up. Throw it right down the middle of the field. Darrell Walker gets a step on Mariel Cooper.
Looked like Duke Williams was taking the ball to do the celebrating. the point after to tie it up. And yes, just tucks it in, does Sean White, to make it a 10-10 game. Burrell Walker, who came in narrowly number 2 in receiving yardage behind his teammate Duke Williams. 1-2 in the league. What a receiving core that Edmonton has.
Yeah, keep an eye on Walker here. He's the number 3 receiver. Watch how he gets the defensive back to open his hips outside. Gets him sitting down back on his heels on that outside move. And then he'll break it back to the inside, and he's got him. Riley recognized he's got him right where he wants him. Ball's thrown on time.
And that is his 7th touchdown reception. So
they can't hold us.
It puts him past Duke Williams in touchdowns at least. And the head coach, Jason Moss, looks pretty intense. Couldn't be upset after a play like that.
I think he's just fired up. Jason's a guy who always played with a lot of emotion. True to himself, he's not going to coach the game any differently.
Mercer Timmis had a big day against the Eskimos. He was their starting running back in week 2 at over 130 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Timmis is back for this kickoff. And now a 10-10 game. It was 10-0, but as Edmonton is wont to do, they can strike back quickly as they've done here, and Timmis does have the ball. That is 20. Mercer Timmis finds a bit of a seam. He's still on his feet. And a good return for the product of the University of Calgary. It is the Diversity is Strength campaign. With more, let's go to Matthew Shinetti.
Rod, Ticats equipment manager Drew Stroshine is kind of the resident historian. He's been telling many of the Ticat players, and you can see on the back of their T-shirts, about Bernie Custis being the first African-American to be the starting quarterback of a professional football franchise, and also obviously about Joe Montford. But you didn't really have to tell Adrian Tracy about diversity, especially in the city of Hamilton. A few weeks after he signed with the Ticats, he was walking down the street to get some lunch, and a fan approached him who recognized him. He noticed immediately the passion, but what really struck with Tracy is a fan wants to know about him. How are you doing, the fan said. And that's one thing that has struck with Tracy in Hamilton. In this city, he says, I feel like a person. Guys.
It's a great story, but someone who appreciates the Canadian Football League and the diversity and the well-named title of the campaign.
That's so true. Adrian Tracy found a home here in Hamilton. And on that diversity note, so great to see the name Bernie Custis in black and gold once again.
For those who don't know, Bernie Custis, the first black quarterback in professional football, coming to the CFL in the early 50s with Hamilton, won a Grey Cup with the Ticats, and that one just dropped, intended there for Terrence Tolliver. But Custis later stayed after his pro career ended, and he made such a major contribution to junior football in this Hamilton area, and also with McMaster as well, and he's in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Sadly, Bernie Custis passed away about a year and a half ago, but was inducted into the Hall of Fame as a builder back in 1994.
Yeah, it wasn't all about football with Bernie, a former teacher, principal here in Hamilton as well. As you mentioned, coached at McMaster, stayed involved with the Ticats his entire life. All-around good guy.
And such an influence on so many, especially in the Hamilton area in the sport of football. But as you said, a principal as well. Mazzoli on that keeper on second down, getting it up across the 50, but a third down play now, even though they are in Edmonton territory, against the breeze, a punting situation for Hairolahu.
I do know there has been some talk, the high school across the street from Tim Hortons Field, some discussion of possibly naming that school after Bernie Custis, in light of his contributions both to this community as a member of the Ticats, but also as an educator.
Among the many things I enjoy about the campaign is the recognition, those names on the back of the T-shirts and the stories that they can tell, and the impact that they made on the Canadian Football League off the field as well as on. And on that punt, it's Jamil Smith. That is 15, and not much further. Justin Capicati there in on the tackle.
Make your getaway with intelligent all-wheel drive in the 2018 Nissan Qashqai.
We're in the second quarter. Tim Hortons Field, a nice look in the distance and a beautiful night here in Hamilton for this Thursday night game, our final Thursday night game of the season, and a close game it is. The Ticats usually don't know it any other way. But a 10-10 score right now. June Jones was talking about the 18 games he's coached in. Most of them have come down to the final 3 minutes. Of those 9 losses, C.J. Gable, Don Unamba among a group of Ticats there to greet Gable, the former Ticat, and some lost yardage. So a second and long as the second quarter continues here. We'll be back.
Coming up at the half, Joe Munford inducted into the Ticats Wall of Fame. We will bring you a little bit of that ceremony, and plus the performances from Thursday Night Football's concert series. We will recap it all for you.
Thank you, Kate. Looking forward to that. Still just under 3 minutes to go now until we'll head back to Kate and the guys in the studio. It's a 2nd and 14 in a tie game. Edmonton deep in their own territory. Mike Riley under pressure, but he gets away from it and throws on the move deep downfield. He's got the Duke. Duke Williams. In he goes. That's the first part. The second part is, what celebration now that the league is lightening its stance on penalties? What are we going to see? Is it a touchdown, though?
Well, the thing I want you to keep an eye on here is the line of scrimmage. 15-yard line. Mike Riley's now at his 5. He's at his 10. He's at his 15.
Whoa.
I'm not sure if that ball is behind the 15 at the point of release.
Premature celebration?
Yeah, I mean, scoring play automatically reviewed, and they're going ahead with the extra point, so.
He was right on the line, said the command center. They did review it, so no. A good celebration. And
hey, shout out to my people at home. I told you I'm going to put it on for the Bears. I'll be Mitch. Why so serious? Why so serious?
Well, he used a prop, a TSN microphone. We saw Darvin Adams use a TSN camera last week, and then later against Montreal, Duke Williams got a touchdown, and he went into the booster juice sign, and he got flagged for it.
Well, you see the ability of Mike Riley. Broken play going off script. And feet, yeah, his feet are
right at the line.
Yeah. Feet behind the line as he launched that football.
Remarkable pass catch combo. 95 yards they hit on their first possession back in June in the previous meeting with the Ticats. 88 yards Riley to Williams. It started 10-0 Hamilton, and it's been all Eskimos since then. 17 unanswered. To the 95-yarder now from Riley to the Duke, who celebrated in style without any penalty. Sean Thomas Erlington taking it out for the Ticats, and he is taken down with a flag on the field at the Hamilton 30.
Offside. Edmonton number 37.
You don't often see a kickoff team penalized. Not with an offside penalty anyway. Christophe Normand is the one that was singled out. And as said before, the outset, the Eskimos have seen penalties this year just about every single way. Special teams too.
We have 2 fouls on the play. Offside, Edmonton will be declined. We have a legal block, hands to the face, Edmonton. We'll apply that penalty, 10 yards, Hamilton first down.
So pick your penalty. And when you play the Eskimos, you often get to do that, right?
Well, either way, it's going to cost the Eskimos a little bit in terms of field position here.
Hey, let's go.
You know, the old days, you used to always like to make them re-kick and force those tired guys to have to run down and cover another one.
Instead, ball is placed at the 30 for the Tiger Cats. First down, 2:20 on the clock. And Mazzoli looking for Mike Jones, and that's incomplete.
The Ticats offensively, despite a couple of turnovers, got off to a pretty good start in terms of their ability to move the football early in this ball game. Running back Alex Green has been the focal point of their attack thus far, but sputtering a bit in their last two possessions, last few.
They've had games like this, frustrations like this. Over the middle he goes. Luke Tasker with another catch. And a first down for the Ticats, a gain of 16. Another catch for Tasker, but no, they've...
Luke Tasker, go-to guy for Jeremiah Mazzoli on second down.
Back to Mike Jones there on first down. Saying though that they've had some games this year where they've looked good, very good at times, and even dominant, and then ultimately didn't have the win to show for it in the end because of stretches like they've just had against the Eskimos in the second quarter.
Yeah, the big thing for the Hamilton Tiger Cats has been that issue of inconsistency. Their good is very, very good, but their bad has gotten them in trouble. Just a handful of plays in each game.
And just a little bit offside is Boateng as the flag comes out. Well into the backfield.
Edmonton number 93, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Kwaku Boateng, he's the one with his butt up in the air and that sprinter stance ready to explode. We have a false start in lane 93.
Well, I love the fact that he kept going because he obviously realized he was busted there. You may as well.
Yeah, you got to own it.
May as well just keep going. So second and inches with that 5 yards extra. And Mazzoli in short yardage gets that and a little bit more and down to the Edmonton 50. So a chance, albeit going against the breeze, for Mazzoli and the Ticats to do something more here against Mike Benavides' defense. Boateng hands off, so.
Yeah, they'll get back into that base look offensively. Spreading it out. Sean Thomas Erlington will often come in essentially as a guy who could run the football, but when they go to the 6 receiver sets, he's that 6th receiver in the spread look.
Mazzoli quickly gets it away once again to the very reliable Luke Tasker. Right down inside the 45 and a 2nd and 5 coming up, 1:20 on the clock.
Big second down play here for the Tiger Cats, as you mentioned, Rod, with that breeze. A long field goal attempt is not an option for them on this drive.
You would take a 51-yarder from there. Hyrelahu's longest is 50, and yes, they are against the wind. But there's Tasker again. And a big play on that second down. They say he stayed in bounds. Clock ticking. Just under a minute now, but a gain of 7. And they do move the sticks.
Yeah, keep an eye on Tasker, the trailing receiver. And that trips look, looking to create a little bit of confusion with 3 guys coming out from similar release points.
Little pump fake, stepping up, more pressure, dumps it off, it's intercepted again. Forrest Hightower has it, and a costly mistake for Jeremiah Masoli under pressure and throws his second interception of this half, the third turnover for the Ticats.
And this is a situation as a veteran quarterback, you've just got to make that decision to whether you eat the ball and take the sack or throw it into the dirt for an incompletion. But desperately trying to make something positive happen, it ends up costing them. Sometimes you got to just get rid of that football, ground it, and live to fight another down.
Second interception of the season for Forrest Hightower, who was injured to start the season. Big part of that Eskimo secondary now. Started his CFL career with the Ottawa Redblacks. So can Edmonton in the final minute get close enough to add some points? Riley, Gable, the ex-Ticat, out of bounds at midfield. Gain of 20 yards, C.J. Gable.
Rookie of the Year finalist. And he began his career with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. There you see his numbers. 51 games over 5 seasons. He did battle some injury issues during his time in black and gold. Nonetheless, productive player, as we mentioned earlier. Capped it with an exclamation point, career high, 157 rushing yards in his final game as a Cat.
Riley, 151 passing yards. His last 3 throws, of course, one of those was Duke Williams in a 95-yarder. And that one goes incomplete, 2nd and 10. But Gable, he told us yesterday, and we heard this earlier, he was frustrated here in Hamilton by how little he was getting the football.
Yeah, and it seemed like sort of more and more over time, despite what he had done, it became more and more of a battle for him to get opportunities in the Ticat backfield. In and out of the lineup a little bit, and not a lot of touches to be had when he was in.
Riley deep again. Contact with Vidal Hazelton, and it looks like pass interference is coming up against the Tiger Cats.
Well, the defender is Hazelton kind of slows up, looking to adjust to this football.
Hamilton number 15, 25. Automatic, first down.
It's Mariel Cooper, number 20, that's called on that. And a big 40-yard gain on the interference and the contact with Vidal Hazelton.
At the very least, instantly bumps the Eskimos into field goal range, but a great opportunity to take a couple shots at the end zone here.
So just when it looked like Hamilton was driving to perhaps tie the game or at least get 3 more on the board, it just swings Edmonton's way so quickly on a turnover. And back come the Eskimos, who had been down 10-0, 17 straight. Looking to add to that now. From the 17 is Riley on 1st and 10. Steps up, looks to the end zone, and he's got Walker again. Touchdown number 2 on the night for Darrell Walker.
The Eskimos may set a record for the number of spikes of the football after a touchdown here. You're going to see Darrell Walker. First of all, tremendous protection. Nateaje, the receiver, C.J. Gable, the running back, stay in to help out in that 7-man protection scheme. But great concentration from Darrell Walker to go up and get that one.
And getting the green light on celebrations is working for the green and gold here. And how about the little rivalry between Duke and Darrell, who came in 1-2 in the CFL, 15-yard difference in receiving yards with Duke Williams ahead.
We're going at them boys' heads all day. Me and this crew, we're going at these boys' heads all day. Hey, good throw, brother.
Well, once again, you're going to see Darrell Walker get that defensive back to sort of sit down, dig his heels in on the outside move, stems him outside. Defender starts to turn his hips out. Walker breaks it back in, gets that separation. Half steps all he needs. Mike Riley puts it up, lets his big receiver go up and get it.
And on Walker's first touchdown, he briefly moved ahead of Duke Williams for the receiving yardage lead until the touchdown by Williams.
We'll watch the work here of C.J. Gable, the running back. Stepping up to block off the edge. He picks up the nickel linebacker. and just locks on him. Provide Mike Riley the time for that play to develop.
And that's what Gable was known so much for, and especially his later days.
Coach DJ.
In Hamilton, his blocking ability. But they're 1-2, and Walker's back in the touchdown lead with 2 TDs tonight. He's got 8 for the season, and Duke has 7, that big 95-yarder. What a turnaround for the Edmonton Eskimos in the second quarter with 24 unanswered points. The last touchdown thanks in large part to that interception by Forrest Hightower.
It took the Edmonton Eskimos a little time to wake up in this football game, but it's been all green and gold here in the second quarter.
And first quarters had not been kind to Edmonton when it seemed to change 2 weeks ago against BC, when the Eskimos got off to a great start. And then lo and behold, the script was flipped by the Lions in the second half, who came back and won that game by 8 points. On the draw, Sean Thomas Erlington, and that carry to carry us to the end of the first half. What an interesting first half it's been, too, with the Ticats striking early. Or Mike Riley and the Edmonton Eskimos, they fell behind 10-0, Dwayne, but then Riley really went to work in that second quarter.
Well, he certainly did, with the wind at his back. You know, after being down 10-0, Riley and the Edmonton Eskimos stormed to 24 unanswered points, hooked up a couple of times with Darrell Walker. And of course, off the scramble, the dagger. 80-yard pass and run to Duke Williams. To Mike Riley, well on his way. He's been over 400 yards 2 of his last 4 games, and he looks to be in similar form here tonight.
What's crazy about this, 193 passing yards in the first half. That's one thing. Most of it, over 180 of it, came in the second quarter.
Yeah, 182 out of the 193 yards came in that second quarter. But, you know, I mean, that's pretty drastic, but we have seen games like this before here in Hamilton. With it's the impact of that wind sometimes. You know, the team that has it at their backs has a very distinct advantage offensively, and it shows on the scoreboard.
And the Eskimos will have that wind. They had deferred, and they're taking the ball in that wind here to start the second half with Jamil Smith. 24-10 after being down 10-0. And Lucas Waka on the tackle there of Jamil Smith. So back comes Riley, leading passer in the CFL, coming in. A very good half of work, as we talked about, one quarter in particular.
And the Eskimos will look to make the most of it as they continue in the same direction here. Wind at their backs to start this third quarter.
By the way, at halftime, there was a great ceremony honoring Joe Montford. Was great here and defensive end for so many years. We're going to have Joe coming up in a little while here in this third quarter and have a chat with him and get his thoughts on the game and when he played, and thoughts on this game as well. CJ Gable keeps his balance but loses the ball, and that's the start that the Ticats need in the second half. A turnover going their way. Don Unamba picks up the fumble by ex-Ticat CJ Gable.
And after turning over the ball in their own territory a couple of times in the first half of this ball game, Ticats finally get a takeaway. Gable just off balance enough as he's trying to get a handle on that football that he loses it. Number comes up with it. Ticat ball at the 26-yard line.
So Jeremiah Masoli in that offense can go to work now at the 26 of the Eskimos. Masoli threw 2 picks and also had a fumble in that first half. Handing off to Alex Green. Goes left side. And a good gain, Green, who had a good first half. 57 yards carrying and a touchdown as well. He gets that inside the 20, Edmonton.
And you have Jeremiah Masoli showing bootleg or quarterback keep coming back the other way, and he's such a threat running the ball. Masoli averaging nearly 9 yards a carry on the season You know, and that's when you factor in he's one of those quarterbacks that stays in on short yardage. So factoring in those quarterback sneaks that kill your average, still averaging almost 9 a pop, they've got to honor him. That creates space for Green.
Second and short, but it'll be third and longer because the Eskimos bring the heat. What a big second down for that Edmonton defense. Somersault for Armando Sewell and a big sack to force a field goal situation now for Hamilton.
You feel like a missed opportunity for the Tiger Cats here. Second down, 3-yard situation. They're going to drop back to pass the football. Eskimos just bring some little extra heat from the secondary that the Cats couldn't handle.
But a 31-yarder against that breeze for Liram Hiralahu, who pumps it through for his second field goal of the night. So they do get 3 points off the turnover. We're hoping for more. Down by 11 to start the second half. Thursday Night Football presented by the Brent. Back at Tim Hortons Field, the Ticats have answered with a field goal after the turnover, the fumble by C.J. Gable. So it's 24-13 Edmonton. Eskimos back to work, scrimmaging from their 35. Riley to his right, and it goes off the hands of Calvin McCarty and falls incomplete. Big night so far for the two big receivers, the leading receivers in the CFL, Duke Williams and Darrell Walker.
Yeah, kind of jockeying back and forth for the lead in receiving, depending on which one has most recently posted a big play in this football game.
Whoever catches that last long pass from Mike Riley might be emerging in the league tonight. Duke leads the way in the longest at 95 yards. Walker has 2 touchdowns. Stepping up, taking off. Riley likes to do that too. Doesn't mind taking the hits, and he has enough to get over the 45 and a first down Edmonton.
Well, probably shaving years off the life of his head coach, Jason Moss, as he refuses to slide here. Riley instead going airborne. You know, boys talked about it in the studio before this football game. You've got 2 very good dual threat quarterbacks, guys who can absolutely kill you when they go off script on those broken plays or even on called quarterback runs.
He has over 250 yards rushing this season, does Mike Riley. C.J. Gable, and for whatever he gets, and it's not much, he has to work pretty hard for it. Gable in his last touch coughed up the football that led to the Hamilton field goal in the second half. As you look at the defensive coordinator of the Tiger Cats, veteran coach Jerry Glanville.
And Jerry Glanville, obviously fortunate to have some support with an experienced D coordinator on staff, CFL defensive coordinator in Orlando Steinauer, the assistant head coach in Hamilton. But Glanville has made a very quick adjustment to life in the Canadian Football League.
Riley steps up again, considers going, a little pump fake, and it's falling incomplete there, and sets up a third down. So Glanville's defense does hold that time around with the Edmonton 46, and they'll be punting it away.
And on the play that time for the Hamilton Ticats was newcomer for them, Josh Johnson, most recently the Ottawa Red Blacks, formerly a BC Lion as well. Joined the Ticats last week, getting an opportunity to play a little bit in that secondary.
Hugh O'Neill to punt it away. Wasn't busy at all in the second quarter as Edmonton was cashing in, scoring touchdowns. Still leading it by 11. And that's taken by Chris Williams at his 10, his 20, his 30, 35, and out of bounds at about the 37-yard line for a good return for Chris Williams. What a night for Joe Montford, the latest in Hamilton's Wall of Fame, and he'll join us in the booth coming up here in Thursday Night Football, presented by the Brent. Well, it's been a night of offense, but it's also a night to honor one of the greatest defensive players certainly the Hamilton Tiger Cats have had, all the CFL for that matter. Joe Montford, 4 years leading the CFL in sacks, tied with the late great James Quick Parker in that department, doing it 4 times. Charleston Hughes might be joining those two, but joining us right now is Joe Montford, going into the Wall of Fame with the Tiger Cats. Congratulations. I mean, I know you were with the Argos for a year and the Edmonton Eskimos and won a Grey Cup there, but I always think of you in black and gold. What does this honor mean to you?
Well, it's huge because, you know, when you come in and you saw in the Ivy Wing Stadium, you saw those names up there. When you want to do something great, you try to follow behind those great guys. And we had a guy in Earl Winfield in the locker room that kind of showed us the way and what to do. And then with, you know, with these guys continuing to come around, it's just a great feeling.
What did you see as the key to your success, Joe? I mean, you're a guy who came into the league as a linebacker with the Shreveport Pirates. What was the thing that turned you into a great defensive end in this Canadian Football League?
I think the players, you know, some of the teammates that we had, you know, they were willing to not only nourish me, but show me the way and show me things that I could do to be greater.
I don't think Dwayne Ford wants to remember the 1999 Grey Cup, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
I would like to bring another Grey Cup here in Hamilton.
Have a look back here as we flash back nearly 20 years to that game, and there you are. Look at those shoulder pads. I mean, that was trademark, wasn't it? And that was the big game against Calgary.
Well, you know what? We kind of knew going in that we were going to beat those guys. It was just a matter of time for us to get back for the next year.
Well, it would have been nice if you had told us.
Well, you know what? One thing about it, you guys talked a lot of junk because we going in a lot of bars and y'all showed off those rings.
On that 1st and 5 and falling incomplete, intended for Mike Jones. But, you know, obviously we think he is a Tiger Cat, but you did have some, you ended your career with the Edmonton Eskimos and had a chance to win the Grey Cup again. Tell me about those days with Edmonton, too.
Well, one thing about Edmonton, they always had a great group of guys in terms of veterans with, you know, with Ed and Jason Moss, and they had a group that resembled some of the things that we did here in Hamilton. So we went in knowing that we were going to do a great job. Our thing was there is dig deep, you know, and do stuff really hard, and it panned out for us.
Early movement on that offensive line. Looks like Riker Matthews called. The indication anyway, it'll be against Hamilton there.
You know, Joe, I actually feel like I owe you money at this point, because I always had this thing in my contract where I would get paid a bonus if I played more than 50% of the plays on offense. And the great thing was we were usually in 5 receivers. The fullback didn't play a ton of snaps. But you gave our offensitive tackles so much trouble, I'd have to come in the game and help them out, so I'd get my bonus every time we played against you.
Well, you're welcome for it. You know what? Hey, it was one of those things. We had fun. We knew each other's opponent. We respected each other, and we respected each other to go out there and do the work and the film work to make things. I can't watch this game. It's driving me nuts.
Nearly a pick there for Nick Taylor, just in and out of his hand, stepping up on that second down play, so a 3rd and 10 for the Ticats. But what about the role of the defensive end? Because I understand, were you a linebacker when you first came up and had to adjust to life up front and rushing the passer that way?
Well, yeah. You know, I came in and I thought I did a pretty good job. You know, I had a lot of a lot of tackles back there for losses, a lot of tackles on the season. Coach Sizzy said at the end of the season that they were bringing in Joe Higgins, who was also a great guy at linebacker, and said I needed to learn another position. I was going home, so you know, it kind of worked out though.
Jamil Smith on the punt return, and good field position for the Edmonton Eskimos. You want to stick around a little bit more? Watch the game up here? We're glad to have you. Joe Montford, Hall of Famer and Wall of Famer for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, now back in Thursday Night Football, presented by the Prince. This was the scene at Tim Hortons Field at the half. Joe Montford going in the Ticats Wall of Fame, and he's still with us up in the booth here. I would think one of the real treats about this, to be honored in front of these fans, is to have family here to share in it too.
It is. You know, a couple of family members I hadn't seen in a while actually was able to make it down, surprise me, which was huge, you know. And just knowing my mom is up there in the sky watching out with my 2 aunts, it's just awesome.
Edmonton football here in a 1st and 10. Riley deep again. Not that time. You were looking for the pick, weren't you?
Looking for the pick, man. You know, defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, you certainly have to have Ticat loyalties tonight with them honoring, even though you did play for the Eskimos and won championships with both teams, but a long time, especially in '99 was the magical year. You win the Grey Cup. You finish behind James Quick Parker back in 1984 at 26.5. You were that close to the single season record.
Well, I had about 8 forced fumbles where the quarterback fumbled the ball, and I was just like, you know what? I started trying to stuff the balls back into the quarterbacks when we were up leading. And Damon wouldn't help me out.
The pass Grover Covington for the Ticats single season lead. And this is something Joe Montfort likes. Ted Laurent, who's a pretty good defensive lineman in his own right, and celebrating that sack of Mike Riley.
He just needs 25 more to catch you, Joe. Laurent's going to line up right on the nose, working on the center, Justin Sorensen. Former teammate that tried to double team him.
Big push.
Just lowers that center of gravity and splits that double team. Now, Joe, I know you've been asked many times over the years. That year you had 26 sacks, 8 forced fumbles. And that's one of the years you didn't win most outstanding defensive player. But I loved your reaction to not winning that.
Well, you know, we had a tight-knit group, and because we have been those seasons where we were 1-17 and 2-16, the guys around us, we really bonded together, because either you're going to fall out or you're going to fall out of love, you're going to fall into love. We fell into love. And we had a great guy in Calvin Tiggle who did pretty good work that year as well. And Ford, I know you had a chance to block him, and it was pretty difficult as well. So I was pretty happy in that stand.
Yeah, there were no plays off when you were up against that Hamilton defense.
Finally, I understand you have your own landscaping business back in Atlanta, and that you have one client in particular we might know.
Well, you know, Milt Stigl does a lot of great things on the field, but taking care of your yard is not one of those things. So I was able to come in and kind of help Milt out, and it's great, man. Me and Milt been friends for a long time and working out together for a long time.
I was going to say, I understand he's never used a lawnmower before.
Yeah, you know what, I don't understand. He should have probably got a small yard, but he ended up getting a huge yard and then said he didn't want to do any landscaping to it.
That's great. Glad to hear that life is going well now. Congratulations being honored back here tonight. Hall of Famer Joe Montfort here.
Thank you.
Joining us in the booth. We'll be back with more Thursday Night Football.
I was at dinner with these guys yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
They were talking about you.
For real?
I swear to God.
I'm shooting myself in the foot. Relax, relax.
I forgot the rule. I forgot the rule.
CFL Wire, Tuesday, 10:30 Eastern. An honest assessment from William Stanback. And heard a lot of players initially come up from the U.S. and got to adjust to those.
There are those moments, yeah.
He is certainly not the first and won't be the last. Forget one of the changes, the nuances in the game. There's Alex Green. Productive game for Alex Green, and they need more of him here as the Tiger Cats are trailing Edmonton by 11.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a challenge for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, because typically you get into a wind game, and during the time when you have the wind at your back offensively, you're trying to run as many plays as possible, going no huddle, going with that tempo offense and so on. When you're against it, usually you want to kind of slow the pace down, eat up the clock and so on. But that's hard to do when you're behind. It's hard to go with that approach when you need to kind of make up time a little bit.
On second and short, Mazzoli is throwing and completing a pass. Finds Chris Williams beyond the 30. First down, Hamilton. Gain of 13 yards for Williams.
Williams is going to line up out wide here. And as always with Chris Williams, you've got to respect the speed. He pushes upfield. Somebody better drop deep. They push off. He gets a pull on the corner with that flat route to create a little window in which he can sit.
The Ticats started this game well. They had a 10-0 lead. And then back came the Eskimos, 24 unanswered in the second quarter. And Chris Edwards involved in helping getting Alex Green down, but after another good gain on first down for number 15 Hamilton, about 6-7 yards.
Well, Alex Green continues to be a workhorse in this ball game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
79 on the ground and 15 carries.
Yes, that's here in the third quarter already, right around his average for his first couple starts.
Passing again, Williams again, first down again, up near the Hamilton 50.
And once again, you'll see Chris Williams push up field. Coverage is dropping deep. He's working back to the football.
Working tempo, and Alex Green, the ball carrier again with another player. It's Williams who is down on that first down play.
I was about to suggest with Chris Williams, you know, you get him working the hook routes a little bit, coming back to that football. With those defenders in coverage, you may start getting them sneaking up to the line of scrimmage, start to bite on those, that you may be able to use Chris Williams' speed on a double move to try and take the top off of coverage, but just kind of looks like the speedster is going to be down for at least 3 plays here. Williams is right up top in your screen, right on the numbers. And there's no contact or anything on this play. He just looks to off his start. Just went down. You hope that's more calf than Achilles, like a cramp, but
it looked harmless enough the way he went down. They giving some attention to that left leg of Chris Williams, who gets carried off the field in what was looking like his best game as a Ticat since his return. This is his 4th game since coming back to Hamilton, at 81 yards receiving on 7 catches coming into this game, and 3 for 33 in this one, in this game alone. But looking very much at this point in time like his night is over, as he is helped off the field.
And a Ticat receiving core that's already down Jalen Saunders.
2nd and 7. Luke Tasker, but not nearly enough. Aaron Grimes and the coverage on Luke Tasker, and maybe a yard or 2, but a punting situation for the Tiger Cats.
Yeah, Aaron Grimes at halfback is one of the best in the business. Coming downhill all the way, driving through the ball carrier. Stop any forward momentum for the receiver Tasker.
So Jamil Smith is back, standing inside his 20. Iralahu to kick it away, a low short kick, but it takes a nice bounce for the Ticats as Smith picks it up and a flag is down. Jamil Smith still on his feet, finally is taken down there by Mercer Timmis. Let's go down to Matthew Shinetti. Matthew.
Even though, guys, we're watching the Eskimos against the Ticats, we are in Tim Hortons Field, and right now the plan that we are in the footprint for this stadium is very much what could possibly be in Halifax, because we learned today that after a unanimous vote, the city manager in the city of Halifax was given the go-ahead to take a look at the possibility of putting a CFL, a football stadium, in the city of Halifax. And speaking to Commissioner Randy Ambrosi before the game, he said, listen, we're not there yet. We're not over the goal line. Think of us in the last minute of the game. We're 5 points back. We want to go all the way through. But the one thing that he said he was encouraged by was the discussions between the group here, obviously led by Scott Mitchell, the president and CEO of the Ticats, and Maritime Football. Discussions, again, about putting the footprint they have here, the kind of stadium they have here at Tim Hortons Field, and the capacity in the city of Halifax.
Thanks, Matthew. Be great news. They can finally get it done. I know they're inching a little closer to a 10th team in the Canadian Football League and bringing some balance as well. And I know it's been talked about for a long time, but it does seem like they're closer now than they've ever been. And that's the big thing, figuring out a way to get that stadium.
Fix a playoff format at 5-5, 5 East, 5 West. Go to an unbalanced schedule.
Would you still have a crossover? A debate for a later date, right? Edmonton Eskimos had a crossover game here in Hamilton 2 years ago when Mike Riley's first child was being born. I was bringing that up with him, the fact that it seems to be visits to Hamilton and the Riley family that has some meaning, just because of the timing. His daughter Brooklyn born is set around that playoff game, and There's his wife Emily, and Cadence, isn't that a great football name? And I looked it up too. Nice Irish girl's name, Cadence Isla.
Well, and just fitting, of course, for a quarterback's daughter. You know, we joked with Mike yesterday that, you know, because snap count is more of a boy's name.
Would be. Or as someone had said in a media scrum, how about procedure? But no, they've already seen too much of that. But he got the idea from Travis Lulay, who's a very dear friend, of course, a quarterback for the BC Lions, who has 3 daughters of his own, and said, I don't know if he actually asked him, you know, would you mind, because it was Travis's idea, but he said go ahead. So they don't know if they're having a 4th or if the 4th would be a girl. So the idea for Cadence Riley, who was just born a few days ago. Can't hear the cadence right now with that crowd at Tim Hortons Field picking up the ball, deflected at the line of scrimmage, and it falls incomplete, and a 3rd down as Riley in that offense heads off. And Chris Williams has said he seemed to be having a better night with the Ticats, with some receptions in this second half, and mysteriously the way he went down without any contact and now being taken off to the dressing room.
Certainly we're all hoping for the best for Chris Williams, but as you said, I mean, a non-contact injury just as he looked to accelerate out of his 2-point stance.
He had been returning punts. Brandon Banks now back there, and it rolls back inside his 10. Speedy B. That used to be his main thing after a 73-yard punt by Hugh O'Neill with that very nice roll. Sundays at HBO are the best nights for comedy. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson returns for an all-new season of the hit Ballers. Sundays at 10 Eastern only on HBO Canada. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, former Calgary Stampeder briefly before he was cut, and he went on to do some other things.
He's done all right. He's done okay.
He's still grateful for his time. He's demonstrated that appreciation for the Canadian Football League, brief as it was. So that punt by Hugh O'Neill, the big roll on Banks, pins Hamilton deep. They have a brutal place to start this drive. It's been problematic in 2018 for these Ticats, as Masoli stands out of the gun at his end zone, and Alex Green not too bad on 1st down, as Green has had a pretty good night as he gets it up across the 10.
More and more the Canadian game is about field position. You see teams playing this way, coaches coaching this way strategically in terms of giving up opportunities to try long field goals, instead favoring that punt to try and pin the other team deep in their own territory, and you know, ultimately
offside. Hamilton number 12, half distance to the goal, 1st down.
And that time the gain by Green is negated, an offside, so they go half the distance down to about the 2.5-yard line. What a frustrating night now for June Jones. On Friday, it will mark the 1-year anniversary of him taking over from Kent Austin as the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 18 games since then, a 9-9 record heading into this one tonight, if you go back to last August. 1st and 12 now. Out of the end zone. It hit the upright. We've seen that happen, and a flag is down as well. We have seen that happen many times going the other way with quarterbacks trying to throw into the end zone. I can't think of the last time I saw it happen in their own end zone.
Yeah, certainly not often. You'd have to be in just the right spot on the field to be launching from underneath there, but this flag might let the Ticats off the hook, give them a bit of a reprieve.
There is no flag on the play. The video official has picked it up.
Good luck, Ticats. 7-man protection here. Masoli's trying to throw to Mike Jones, who's down that wide side sideline. Right off the back of that upright.
Yeah, as said, I can't think of the last time I saw that happen, throwing out of the team's end zone, throwing into it. We've seen it a couple of times this year. Throwing out, no problem this time. First down, Terrence Tolliver. A great throw by Masoli to get them out of a bit of a jam in field position and a gain of 22 yards.
Well, you can't help but wonder if Masoli was a little bit conscious of making sure he's throwing to the short side, staying completely away from those uprights. You know, it becomes a consideration in your play calling. Make sure your primary reads are into the boundary. Nice route by Tolliver again. Drive the defender off, force him to respect your speed. Push him deep. When he turns to run, you break it off.
Faking the run to Green, but Matthew Girard, a backup O-lineman in the game, and sails over his head.
Just beyond his vertical.
Just a bit. So they get some breathing room. But the third quarter comes to an end, and they do add some points, but they're still behind. It's a 24-13 Edmonton lead Thursday night in Hamilton. Through 3 quarters here in Hamilton, the Ticats won the third quarter 3-0, but Edmonton with that lead. And Hamilton did get a turnover and get a field goal, Dwayne, but, you know, really failing to cash in on their opportunities. That's been their story.
Yeah, it really has. And we'll, you know, the way this game has gone, we'll call it a win in that third quarter, looking at the way points were scored in the first half of this ball game, where the team with the win dominated.
Right.
And so for Hamilton, you're almost kind of playing for a tie, playing to make sure you don't get in more of a hole through that third quarter. They did well to come out ahead in terms of points, but now they've got to make some hay. So they've got to start to think a little bit about going tempo on offense and so on to get as many plays in as they can to try and get back in this one.
Well, that is a point well taken, because the Eskimos dominated, going right to left in your screen with the win in the second quarter, but nothing to show for it in that third quarter. So yes, it is the Ticats now on a 2nd and 10 from their 25 with the breeze at their back to finish this game. Completed pass to Luke Tasker, who's had a fairly busy night. Might get even busier with Chris Williams out of this game now, and a gain of 7 for Tasker, and that was his 6th catch for 66 yards on the night.
And not enough to avoid bringing out the punt team here, so they need a big one from Liram Hairolahu to try and swing this field position battle a little bit, which, as you mentioned, Rod, has been an ongoing struggle for the Hamilton Tiger Cats this season.
With the breeze as his back, and a good punt from Hairolahu, taken by Jamil Smith, who went down. He was down. The ball did come out, but they're very quick to mark it that it is Edmonton football. And a 50-yard punt by Liram Hairolahu, and another flag is down.
Take a closer look.
During the return, illegal block. Edmonton number 15. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Bedell Hazelton called. 15 Edmonton, illegal block, and the Eskimos leading in the game, but also leading in the penalty department too. Their 10th penalty of the night. That's been about their average, just a little under it, and averaging over 100 yards in penalties in their 9 games coming into this one. It's been a trouble area for the Eskimos, and that pushes them back inside the 20 for Riley. Not a very productive third quarter, so 12 for 20, 199 yards passing, most of those in the second quarter. Working against the breeze now in the fourth, dumping it off, and it's Jay with a big gain and his first catch of the night. Jay gets it all the way up to the Edmonton 50. 31 yards for Jay.
And love the flow of this play. You're going to see C.J. Gable free release to the flat, Mike Riley sprinting to the right. That's going to take the whole flow of the defense. Everybody's moving that way. And you'll see Natea Jay kind of work back. He's the other man in the backfield. He comes underneath it. There's an opening. And nothing but room for number 3 to pick up that first down. Great execution.
Riley again. And Darrell Walker, who's had 2 touchdowns on the night, had a big night, but was maybe turning around a little too quickly before securing that football.
Yeah, took a little peek to see which side pursuit was coming from there. He was looking to spin opposite. That split second. It's cost him the catch, so it'll be 2nd and 10 now for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Edmonton looking to improve to 7-3, which would tie the Stampeders in points in the standings for first, but Calgary would have 2 games in hand, sitting at 7-1, coming off their first loss last week. And in coverage on Vidal Hazelton, Donyu Namba is right there and knocked that one away. So 3rd down.
Namba, a guy who's started every game at that nickel linebacker spot. He's just beyond the Tiger. Nice job to get that arm around to break up the pass without hitting the receiver first.
O'Neill at his 35. Against this breeze, Hamilton should have decent field position. Nice low driving punt into the wind, taken by Speedy B at his 20, and runs up out of bounds across the 30. A 42-yard punt. Pretty good against that wind. The Tiger Cats, they were down 14, they're now down 11, looking to close that gap and get back to the way they were in the first quarter. Well, these are the top 2 offenses in many categories. You can see this season, Edmonton, Hamilton coming in, and for stretches it looked that way, and in other points of the night, Dwayne, it really hasn't held up, but very close.
Yeah, both have experienced their ups and downs, as you said, within this ball game. Hot streaks, cold streaks. You know, turnovers have been the difference, I think, both in terms of their season and in terms of this ball game.
Absolutely. That one intended for Jones goes incomplete from Masoli, but remarkable how close those stats are between Edmonton and Hamilton. And they both had the ability to crank up the big play. We've definitely seen that from the Eskimos again tonight. Big touchdowns to Walker and Duke Williams. But their 2nd and 3rd possession, Hamilton scored a touchdown and a field goal. Since then, the defense of the Edmonton Eskimos has been very strong. But right there, it's Tasker again. Another big catch for Luke Tasker to get it close to midfield and a first down for the Tiger Cats. Gain of 21 yards.
This angle will give you some idea of the precision of this throw by Jeremiah Masoli, right down the pipe. A couple defenders converging on the football. His receiver, Luke Tasker, hauls it in stride. That's a huge first down, big gain for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Up to their 53, so approaching midfield. Down by 11, swinging it out to Green. Nothing doing, taken down nicely there by Christophe Malumba Chimanga.
Second-year linebacker, Montreal native out of the University of Maine, where he was a 4-year starter.
It's Mike Benavides, who's had to contend, he and Jason Moss and the Eskimos, with a lot of change on that defense. Last year they lost a lot of man games, and there's one of the fixtures in Elmondo Sewell.
One of the most impressive things, Rod, is when you think of all the veteran defensive ends they moved on from in the offseason.
And there's another catch by Tasker. That combination really starting to work for the Tiger Cats. Another first down there in Edmonton territory, down near the 40.
Well, you get another look at Luke Tasker working across the middle of the field, right on the right side of your screen. Gets his defender turned around as soon as Masoli sees that. Ball is on its way.
8 catches, 105 yards, gain of 17 on that last one for number 17. They're in business. And that's Felix Faubert-Lussier on the receiving end, his first catch of the night, and one of the few he's had in this season, the second-year player out of Laval.
Yeah, pressed into action. Of course, with the injury to Chris Williams. Again, Ticats a little thin at receiver already with Jalen Saunders out of the lineup to start this game.
Second and 3 after that 7-yard pickup by Faubert-Lussier. Quickly, nearly into the hands and intercepted by Nick Taylor, intended for Tasker, and Taylor laments what might have been, as Masoli was close to his 3rd interception thrown.
Well, think about the accuracy with which we saw Masoli throw a couple of previous balls down the middle of the field, but here you see the impact of pressure on a quarterback's accuracy. A slightly shorter throw, but he's got to get it out in a hurry and with someone breathing down his neck. And suddenly it's at risk of being intercepted.
41-yard field goal try coming up. I mean, to look at it on the replay and the way it was deflected by Tasker, that would have been an incredible pick by Taylor, who still wishing he could have had it. And this one is no good. It is wide left for Hiralahu as Jamil Smith looks to bring it out of the end zone. He does, and he's hit a ton. Taken down hard at the Edmonton 5. Was that Nikita Whitlock coming in as Smith is slow to get up? Edmonton football. The Eskimos did all their celebrating in the second quarter. Duke Williams, remember he got flagged for a celebration last week against Montreal, 95 yards, and this is what he did with Matthew Shinetti's microphone. Matthew?
You know, Rod, before the game, a reporter has to be objective, but then Natea J came up to me and said, listen, do you mind if Duke takes your mic or I take your mic? And then Duke came to me and said, listen, with the new rules that came out today and I can use props, I got to have the mic. So we all know that I can't catch a pass. I might as well be helpful with touchdown celebrations. Rod?
Never beat you up over that. You know, you got to get another chance here. And look at this. C.J. Gable with a big run left and across midfield. And his biggest play, he had copped up the ball earlier, turned it over, but that time he was down. How about that for C.J. Gable? His 60-yard gain for the former Ticat.
Yeah, held largely in check to this point, but this one opens up in a big way. Nice job by David Beard locking up Jason Neal at the line of scrimmage. Gable just hits at full speed, huge gain to swing the field.
They started deep in their own zone, and just with that, now with the spot of the ball, it's a 61-yard gain for C.J. Gable, his first trip back to Tim Hortons Field since he was traded away by the Ticats to Edmonton last October. Back in his hands right away. Up there to take him down, Josh Johnson in the game for the Ticats. That's got to feel good for Gable.
Oh, no doubt that was the play C.J. Gable had been looking for since the opening kickoff of this football game. To make his mark against his old team.
Certainly did on that play. What a change of field position as the Ticats were hoping to hem Edmonton deep and get a chance for good field position on a punt, but instead the Eskimos are still on the move. Best they've looked in the second half offensively after a big second quarter. Riley running and does eventually get out Jason Neal. Make sure it takes care of him there. And Duke Williams heard Matthew talking about it, and the one using the prop in Matthew's microphone. But this is what happened last week against the Owls. Now, a night before, Darvin Adams had celebrated with a TSN camera, no penalty, into the Booster Juice sign. And it got some attention south of the border from ESPN as well with that celebration, but using the prop at the time was a penalty. And so they've credit the CFL. I think, you know, they've amended the rule right away, and now that wouldn't be a penalty.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the entertainment value of a good celebration. I fear a little bit that teams may start arriving with some sort of wardrobe cabinet or something on the sidelines as this escalates as the year goes on, but the Eskimos have certainly taken full advantage of the rule change tonight.
And Hugh O'Neill hems the Ticats deep with that punt. But the Duke had a plan. Matthew Shinetti talked about it. He knew what would be coming, and the Duke was looking for Matthew's microphone after that 95-yard touchdown grab, part of Edmonton's lead. Thursday Night Football on TSN is presented by The Brick, saving you more. Edmonton continues to lead thanks to an explosive second quarter when they racked up 24 points, a couple of touchdowns to Darrell Walker and one to Duke Williams as well. The top two receivers in the Canadian Football League, and Joe Montford, star of the show as well, honored at halftime for his great contributions to the Ticats over the years, back in the late 90s into the 2000s, going in their Wall of Fame. 1st and 10, Hamilton starting to run out of time now, and he does it again.
What are the odds?
I had not seen this before, and Mazzoli has found an upright from the defensive end zone, from his own end zone, and in one half he has hit the upright twice.
It also speaks volumes again, though, about the Ticats starting field position, that he would have the opportunity to do this twice in the same half of football. You know, I mean, for this to happen, your line of scrimmage is inside your own 5-yard line. You just have to kind of recognize again in terms of your play calling.
Airing this one out, and he has it. Mike Jones turns around, has more. Looking for a block from Brandon Banks and has it. Aaron Grimes, the last chance to get him as he pushes him out of bounds. So once again, Mazzoli, after hitting an upright, completes a big pass. That one much bigger. It gets them down to the Edmonton 20 on a gain of 84 yards.
And Mike Jones lines up out wide. Watch the release here. Gets the defender's hands off, gets a step on, stacks him, meaning he gets sort of directly in front of him. So that defender's not in a position to make a play on the ball without coming through him. Doesn't leave the defender an angle to play that football. Big play. Jeremiah Mazzoli to Mike Jones.
Now Jones has 4 catches for 117 yards. Pump fake. Another deep ball. Oh, so close to Brandon Banks. Looked like it went right through the uprights that time. And falls incomplete.
Yeah. Ball is a little short as Mazzoli's feeling a little bit of pressure as he throws this one.
Wow.
Just right off the helmet as he's on his way down.
Hits him right in the face mask. So 2nd and 10 from the 21. Stepping up and throwing that one intended for Tasker. As fans get a little impatient with that. The big play to get them close into scoring position. However, 24-13, a field goal would get them to within 1 score as June Jones sends out the field goal team.
Yeah, this is just one that gets away from Jeremiah Mazzoli.
Iralahu 2 of 3, missed his last attempt. This one about 28 yards away. And straight through it goes. So we do have a 1-score game, but once again in this half, disappointment by the Ticats that they're getting a field goal instead of a touchdown. Set up by a big play. MLS on TSN continues Saturday with a 2018 MLS Rivalry Week matchup as Toronto FC goes head-to-head with Impact in a fight for the North. The action getting underway at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on TSN 4 and 5 and in 4K. Rivalry Week. Speaking of rivalries, we're getting close to Labor Day when Edmonton will go to Calgary. That'll be their next game after this, and the Ticats will host the Argos, who they haven't faced this season so far. Those will be big divisional games regardless of the outcome tonight. C.J. Gable had that big gain earlier in this quarter of 61 yards, and he takes that handoff there.
Should be a steady diet of C.J. Gable for the Edmonton Eskimos. Coming down the stretch, under 5 minutes, they look to keep that clock ticking. Get that run game going and try and wear out this Ticats defense as well as the clock.
June Jones has talked about all the times his team has lost when they've been within a score in the final 3 minutes. They're within a score as Riley bobbles that snap and has not much of a choice but to get taken down. Got him right in the hands and couldn't hang on. Don Unema among the Ticats in there to make sure Riley didn't make a play after that.
And Riley surveying that defense. The snap is in place. Again, much like a receiver catching the ball, taking a glance to see where pursuit is coming from. Looks like Riley took a little peek up just as that ball was on its way in. See what was going on in terms of coverage. That split second, he lost it.
And that could be big because O'Neill stands inside his 20. The breeze still picking up a little bit against them. They get some heat and very close to contact on O'Neill. No flag down. Brandon Banks picks off and the short side and tiptoes a little bit further up near midfield for the Ticats, who will have good field position to work with for a change.
I think this one was more than close to contact, partner. It looked like Nicholas Parasato took out the legs of the Edmonton kicker, Hugh O'Neill. Even he took a glance at the official looking for a flag. I think they're somewhat stunned by the non-call over on the Edmonton sideline.
And for all the penalties the Eskimos have taken again tonight, would have liked to have seen one go their way on that contact on O'Neill. The draw to Green, nicely done, and a good gain again. A first down by Alex Green to get it into Edmonton territory down near the 50.
Oh, this is test time for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Hamilton, timer, please 3 minutes, 10 seconds on the clock.
Use it before you lose it with that timeout for the Tiger Cats with the 3-minute warning approaching.
So 2 field goals in this second half, both by Hamilton, gets them within a score at an 8-point game. The last time these two teams met, back in June, it was all Tiger Cats at the Brickfield at Commonwealth Stadium. They ended up winning that one 38-21. Jumping ahead to a big lead. Big time now for Mike Benavides' defense. As Hamilton, the record of 3-5 coming in, looking to hit the turn, the halfway point of the season at 4-5 and get a little closer to the Ottawa Redblacks, who are resting this week. They have the bye, first in the East at 6-3. Masoli, pump fake, deep ball, wide open receiver, and he dropped it. Oh my goodness! Mike Jones had it. He had a touchdown.
Well, this play had a whole roller coaster of emotions for the Tiger Cat faithful. They get the double move. Defensive back Mercy Maston bid on the short route. Looked like Jones was going to walk in for the touchdown.
And not to bring this up, but 2 receivers for the Ticats take them off the helmet on what would have been touchdown catches. So moving on, Tasker, big play, inside the 30, inside the 20, inside the 10, touchdown Hamilton. How's that for an answer in the face of some adversity for the Hamilton Tiger Cats? 51 yards, Masoli to Tasker, who does a whole lot of work after the catch.
Well, from plays that should have been touchdowns to one that probably shouldn't. 2 defenders right there as he catches the ball. 2 more have a shot at him there. Watch a terrific blocking at the end of this. Brandon Banks, Felix Faubert-Lucier getting out in front to make sure no one else is going to have a shot at Luke Tasker.
Luke Tasker's 3rd touchdown of the season. All 3 of his touchdowns have come against the Edmonton Eskimos. He had 2 back in week 2 in Edmonton. And this one is bigger because this one has got Hamilton to within 2 points of tying up the Eskimos, who at one point led 24-10.
Well, the difference between the Hamilton Tiger Cats having a losing record and a winning record is what they've done in the last few minutes of ball games. This is test time for this team.
This is to tie the game. The 2-point try. Mazzoli, end zone, and no, it falls in front of Faubert-Lucier. So they're still within a field goal now, still 2 points behind. Frustrating end to a big play for Jeremiah Mazzoli and Luke Tasker and the Ticats, who had led by 10, fallen behind by 14, and now trail by just 2.
Well, you're going to see Edmonton Eskimos had this covered well. You're getting double outs here from the 2 slots. Tasker is the inside of those 2 receivers. Now, in terms of coverage, the 2 Eskimos, both guys recognize it's going to the inside slot. They're going to break off of that and go to play Tasker. Both miss. Tasker gets free on the run, but watch what happens downfield. He gets that convoy of receivers. His buddies in the receiving corps leading him in, led by the smallest guy on the field, Brandon Banks. You watch the tail end of this play, you've got Tasker out on the sideline with the football, and he's got his buddies all out in front of him. Watch Brandon Banks, the wide guy, number 1. .55 soaking wet, finishing his block to make sure his team scores that touchdown.
Doing what it takes to help Hamilton come back in this game. 2-point convert failed, but nonetheless, they're within a field goal of winning it. They got to get the ball back. 2:32 in the clock. Riley and the Eskimos need a drive. Kill some clock. Duke Williams. 2nd catch only. His other one was 95 yards for a touchdown. And Duke picks up good yardage there after the catch to get it up to the Edmonton 40 and a 1st down.
Well, Duke Williams with his quietest 100-yard game of the season. 95 on one play. And just enough on a hitch screen to put him over. Missed tackles. And cost the Ticats a 1st down and some time on that clock. Valuable time for them as they trail by 2.
Still the leading receiver in the CFL. His teammate Darrell Walker passed him briefly. But it is Williams. And there's catch number 3 right after that 2nd one. And his shortest gain of the night at 5 yards on those 3 touches. 2nd down. How big is this, Dwayne? 2 minutes on the clock and a 2nd and 5.
And even if the Ticats get a stop here, they may still find themselves lamenting that hitch screen to Duke Williams where they had a chance to make the tackle, because you look, the shift in field position isn't what it could have been. And you look at what the starting point could be, but putting all of that aside, a massive 2nd down for the Tiger Cat defense here.
Pigskin Peak, other Ticat fans firing up the crowd here at Tim Hortons. Hamilton trailing by 2. 2nd and 5 Edmonton. 2 minutes on the clock at Tim Hortons. They're at their 45. Riley's under pressure. Simone Lawrence has it. And Edmonton will be punted.
Well, the defense has done their part for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now it's going to be up to the O. Watch Simone Lawrence coming off the edge. Extra man unaccounted for in that protection scheme. He can't get the ball out quickly, so Riley's going to make sure he doesn't force it and throw a pick and just eats that one.
First time we call Simone Lawrence's name tonight, and it's for a very big reason. As Hugh O'Neill. They reset the clock to just under 2 minutes at 1:56.
Hey, come on, D. Hey, there you go. Hey, happy birthday, Whitney. Happy birthday, I told you I was going to get on camera for your little beautiful ass.
In his 7th year at the University of Minnesota, Simone Lawrence. So it comes to Hugh O'Neill at his 25 against the breeze. Low, good driving punt. Well done against the wind for Brendan Banks at his 30. 35 out of bounds. Ticats are down 2. 1:32 on the clock, and here comes Masoli looking to drive for the winning points.
And this has been fourth quarter in which the Hamilton Tiger Cats have had some opportunities, have had some misfortune. But most recently got a break. Some missed tackles, they finally found their way into the end zone. After 2 passes off of receivers' helmets.
Things that I'm just not accustomed to seeing. 2 off the uprights, 2 off face masks. There's one complete to Faubert-Lassier with his second catch of this second half.
Gets the first down, gets out of bounds. Perfect execution to start that drive.
Big moment for the Eskimos defense. Jeremiah Masoli is over 400 yards passing, right at 400 now. 26 of 43. Under pressure, gets it away to Terrence Tolliver. What a play by Masoli.
This is a gutsy play by Jeremiah Masoli, because as you watch it, I mean, he recognizes he's in trouble. He's getting forced to his left. He's got about 3 guys that are going to show up in his face. He'll get his view of it right here. Going to his left, but manages to get his shoulders turned enough to get that ball downfield at a time where you're thinking he's just going to throw this one in the dirt. Live to fight another down. He turns it into a positive play.
Ticats are within field goal range now. Would take a 49-yarder. Alex Green reducing that down to the 30. And another first down, Ticats. Hamilton's lost a lot of close games. They have a good chance now to win one.
Take a look. Again, nice job by Riker Matthews. Tackle, backside tackle coming around, took care of the linebacker. And that one will put Alex Green over 100 for the game.
Back to Green. Short carry this time on that 1st and 10. It'll be 2nd and long, but they are within field goal range now, and a timeout called for the Eskimos.
Well, we just finished talking, Rod, about all the bad breaks the Hamilton Tiger Cats have had in the second half of this football game. You know, the drops or missed opportunities from receivers, 2 passes from deep in their own end off their own uprights, missed opportunities to get out of that part of the field. But here somehow they've maneuvered their way into a position to potentially win this football game.
Such changes in momentum. Great start, Hamilton, a 10-0 lead. Back came Edmonton at the half. They led 24-10. All Ticats in this 4th quarter, and then that 2nd down. Masoli does not get enough for the first down, but it is centered right down Main Street for Lirim Hajrullahu to come out and put the Ticats ahead. It is a 3rd and short, but I would think, yes, indeed, they're not going to take any chances here, of course, and bring out their field goal kicker to, with 23 seconds left, perhaps win this ball game.
A nicely executed final possession. You know, this was talked about the test for the Ticats offense for Jeremiah Masoli in particular, giving his team an opportunity to win, making these plays down the stretch. Now it comes down to the kicker, Lirim Hajrullahu, in that field goal unit.
Spotted from the 29. They're running that clock way down. Tasker puts it down, and Hajrullahu puts it through. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats come back from 14 down and beat the Edmonton Eskimos. The Nissan Titan Player of the Game, brought to you by Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the CFL.
Well, Ticat receiving core been hit hard by injury of late. Jalen Saunders out of the lineup. Chris Williams went down in this game. Somebody needed to step up. The guy who did it in a big way, Mr. Reliable. In that receiving core, not always flashy, but always gets the job done. Luke Tasker comes up with 9 catches. Season high 156 yards. And a fourth quarter touchdown. And that tonight, Luke Tasker is our Nissan Titan Player of the Game.
The Ticats come back, a field goal in the third quarter to get it within 11, and then the touchdown, the last play field goal by Liram Hajrullahu, concluding our Thursday night football presented by The Brick for 2018. It's got Hamilton to 4 wins, 5 losses, and within 4 points of the Ottawa Redblacks now for first place in the East. Thanks for watching from Tim Hortons Field. SportsCenter